as president of Metro, how are you going to move this process forward in a productive way? Tom, you want to start?
Well, I think first of all, if it waits until I'm president of Metro, it probably will have waited too long. I think we have a window of opportunity between now and the end of the year to move forward on some of the federal funding, and if we don't start doing that, we're going to miss an opportunity. Rex served on the committee and that came up with the proposal that has been issued. I believe we need to move forward on that proposal, and there are things that need to be adjusted as we go forward. But I think basically this is the bridge that meets the needs not only of our part of the region but of the folks north of the region. And without it, we can't get a bridge. I spent a year. I was not on the committee, but I spent a year and a half on the Freight Mobility Task Force, and I do know two things. That number one, this bridge is essential to moving freight around the region and through the region in a way that reduces the cost to the businesses in the region of the congestion that is created by this bottleneck. And second of all, this bottleneck threatens the vitality of our port and the Port of Vancouver, both of which are challenged by larger ports to the south and to the north, that where the advantage to our ports is that we can get freight to the Midwest about a half a day sooner because we have less congestion than they do in Seattle and Long Beach and Los Angeles. We take that advantage away to the degree that the congestion gets worse, and I think this will alleviate enough of the congestion to move freight more fluidly through the region. And the idea is the 3 through lanes going each way, and then the 3 maneuvering lanes allow a pair of a defect in the system, which is too many basically off ramps too near the bridge. So I basically think that it's something we need to move forward with.
Bob?
First of all, I got to say, isn't that cool? I mean, some part of me, I was 10 years old once, and I played out in the dirt, and I tried to get boards to be the overpass things, and I had cars coming up like this, and you could connect everything in the entire yard without ever having an intersection. You just had to have the right number of ramps. It's kind of an arithmetic problem. I didn't know anything about higher math yet, about how you can put all those lanes in there and make it work, and isn't that amazing? They've done it. So tell me, which are the 6 through lanes in that 18-lane mess of spaghetti on Hayden Island? And does it matter? We're not going to build this. It's not going to happen. It should not happen. And it doesn't relieve congestion. It results, according to the environmental impact statement, in a 35% increase in congestion on southbound I-5 in the morning. Because there's a bunch of cars that do not fit and can't fit in the 6-lane freeway trying to cross that bridge because it's 12 lanes to 14 lanes to 18 lanes wide, depending on what slice you're at. Who says that in order to maintain access to Hayden Island, we have to build an 18-lane modified cloverleaf on Hayden Island and tear down enormous amounts of real estate? I've suggested that we keep the existing bridges and repurpose them after seismic strengthening, that we provide for local access to and from Hayden Island so that you don't have to get on a freeway in a big cloverleaf in order to make that connection, and therefore you don't have to build a bunch of mixed merge lanes on the outside of the freeway in order to accommodate an interchange that's too close to the interchanges on either end. That's the engineering problem. You got a bunch of interchanges too close together. So one solution is spend $4 billion, build 18 lanes, many of them up in the air, in order to solve that problem and create a whole bunch of other problems like induced demand for land in North Clark County, induced traffic on a facility that will draw more development and draw more traffic, increased congestion in North Portland with increased impact on an asthmatic population that's already larger than the rest of the region, increased cut-through traffic on North Portland roads. So let's repurpose the existing facility and build the amount of additional capacity we need to ensure that there are 3 through lanes, none of which have to stop on Hayden Island because that local traffic is being accommodated on the same facilities that provide light rail, bike, and ped. Estimated cost savings, $2 billion.
Rex, you staked a lot of your reputation
There we go.
on this stance.
Well, no, here we go, and I wish Bob had chosen to join the committee. He was asked, I think, 5 times by the task force to send somebody from Thousand Friends, but it wasn't important enough, and we could have benefited from your perspective. Of course, we've looked at all those issues in the 3 years that we looked at this problem. It is not an easy problem. It's a big river. It's expensive. It is the interstate freeway system. It is the #1 trade corridor on the West Coast. It has a lot of things we asked this place to do. And now, the other part is that I think if you, Mr. Stacey, keep up with the news, the proposal today is for a 10-lane bridge with a number of interchanges removed from it, and the estimated price is $2.6 to $3.2 billion. So what we need to do is make sure we're updated on our information here. And the information is, there is a design process going on to try to make this fit our budget, make sure it's affordable, and make sure it fits the function we need it to meet. And I think a key issue for me is Hayden Island. It's in my district, it's people I represent, I've been working with in terms of how do you create a walkable community there, because we want light rail there, we want high levels of development, and actually the same thing on the north side of the river. Vancouver is the 2nd largest growing area in the region next to downtown Portland. It will be the next downtown ahead of any other urban centers. And it needs to be fixed as well in terms of connecting the east and west sides of Vancouver, and that can happen through this project. I agree with Tom, though. This is not a next Metro Council president's job. It's today. And it's really the governors of our 2 states, Kulingoski and Gregoire. This is a DOT project that needs to be brought home and completed, and it needs to come to an agreement with the people of this region. I spent 3 years on the committee working on this problem and have worked to make sure it goes through the system. And again, what we came out with was 6 through lanes, light rail, essential component of it, can't build it without that, can't build it without tolls. Tolls have to be used to manage traffic demand. And then, there's some design details like how much extra you have to do to make it work, and that's the discussion about, and then how much can we afford? Now this is really something, I'm actually meeting with the governor next week, and my ask for him is to come up to Portland, sit down with the leadership council that he formed, and hammer out these issues and get them completed, because I think it's a lack of communication. If we don't act now, we won't be in the federal transportation bill, we won't qualify for light rail funding, we won't qualify for any federal match, the project's dead, okay? And it'll probably be dead for at least another 6 to 10 years. So the question is, are we going to be responsible enough to stand up and say, this is our problem, our generation, and however we solve it, whatever conclusion comes here, we need to fix a major problem to make sure we have safety, to make sure we can keep the trade moving for our local economy, and to make sure that we can get transit choices to people who live in Vancouver who don't have them today.
I don't think there's any dispute among the candidates that we need a solution, that we need to add light rail across the Columbia River, along with bicycling, pedestrian access, that we need 6 through lanes that function as through lanes. I think the suspension of disbelief that's necessary is to assume that we should expect to raise so much in the tolls that are also a necessary part of this project that we can spend an extra $2 billion on facilities that we don't need in a least cost approach to solving the problem. Yes, let's get it started. Yes, let's get going on it. But let's not waste public dollars, whether or not it's going to be Vancouver residents paying the toll. Those toll revenues could be going to support the transit service that we're going to be trying to encourage people to use by underwriting the fares so that it's an attractive alternative to driving at peak. We want this system to work. We want a 6-lane freeway system in Oregon to work. We're going to have a balanced transportation system, and we're going to have to save out some part of that $4 billion we're talking about spending here, which after all represents about a quarter of what we plan to spend on transportation infrastructure over the next 20 years in this entire region.
Tom, any final thought about the bridge?
Well, I mean, I think that part of the issue is that the bridge has to, the practical politics of the whole thing is the bridge has to solve Vancouver's problem first, and because, quite frankly, the money that comes from the feds is coming through Patty Murray's committee, and so if it doesn't have the support of the local leadership in Vancouver, whatever the version of it that we like down here is going to not get funded. And I think that the not getting funded part is the worst case scenario for business in the region.